State Representative Alvin Holmes said the lawsuits are being planned by a group of black leaders.
And certainly we intend to systematically sue every institution, predominantly white institution in this state, for systematic discrimination against blacks. Not only the senior institution, but every junior college, and technical and trade school as well. As you know, in the state of Alabama, with Alabama State and Alabama A&M, have more whites employed at those schools than the white schools have as relates to blacks.
The ruling by Judge Frank Johnson, Jr., federal district court judge, is now being called a landmark decision that is expected to have a significant impact on the personnel makeup of black schools all across the United States. One of the plaintiffs in the suit was Ann Davidson Patillo. She is described as a brilliant music teacher and a talented concert singer. In the case of Mrs. Patillo, the federal court found from the evidence that Patillo was recruited from a major university and that she launched Alabama State University's first operatic performance. She received a notice from the school's president, Dr. Levi Watkins, that her employment contract would not be renewed for her second year. The court said when Patillo sought an explanation for the decision from her supervisor, Dr. Otis Simmons, Simmons expressed surprise at the non-renewal decision and indicated to Patillo that he had recommended that she be reemployed for the coming academic year. The court added, at the trial of this action, Dr. Watkins was unable to give any convincing reason to non-renew Mrs. Patillo's contract. In the cases of 4 other white instructors, no convincing reason for not renewing their contracts or for not promoting them. Thus, the court said the actions were racially motivated. The effects of the ASU ruling are expected to be felt in the educational community for years to come. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.
Montgomery District Attorney Jimmy Evans at one point today withdrew from the case after Circuit Court Judge Perry Hooper denied his motion to drop prosecution of the first indictment dealing with the acceptance of an alleged unlawful plane ride by State Treasurer Melba Till Allen. Later in the day, Evans withdrew that motion. Evans said his reasoning was he didn't want to saddle a court-appointed attorney with the problems he's having with the case. Evans said he hoped he still wouldn't have to bring a prosecution witness out of the hospital to testify. The DA has asked for a continuance of the indictment because of pending surgery of one of the prosecution witnesses. Evans claims to bring his witness to court Monday could subject the witness to physical harm, and again asked for continuance in the hearing Monday, which Judge Hooper has under advisement. Judge Hooper has remained firm on not granting a continuance, told the district attorney he didn't grant a continuance without making his own investigation, and he said after talking by telephone with the doctor of the witness, it was his conclusion that the witness is capable of being in court on Monday, but he said, I guess we won't know until Monday. Mrs. Allen has been indicted on counts of using her office for personal gain. Our attorneys today filed motions to dismiss 5 indictments against her. They claim the statutes under which they were issued were unconstitutionally vague and overly broad. Such motions were denied by Judge Hooper. A motion by the district attorney to null pros the first indictment with prejudice has also been taken under advisement by the judge. Evans further told the court that the state was ready for a May 22nd hearing on an indictment that the state treasurer used her office for personal gain. Evans said he anticipated presenting some 75 to 100 witnesses, many of them from out of state. Reporting from the Montgomery County Courthouse, George Mitchell, WSFA TV News.
Well, they offered me a partial scholarship, and that's where all my brothers and sisters go, so that's where I didn't have much choice, really. No, I'm kidding. I did, but that's where I decided to go because of that.
Okay, you haven't had a lot of formal coaching in the pole vault. How have you been able to go so high and do so well?
Well, Eddie Sullivan helped me a lot, and he started me off in 9th grade, and then Coach Wilson knew some about it because he was in track, I think, when you're in college or when he was in college or something, and so I've just been mostly by myself, though, me and other vaulters helping ourselves out, you know, just through practicing.
How high do you think you can go?
Well, if I have a good day, I'll be able to go 15.6, I think. It depends. If I can get on my new pole I got, then I'll be able to go 15.6, but if I can't get on it, I'll, I 'll 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 'll
representing 6 state and local organizations, blacks opposed to the Johnson order called it unjust.
And now, because of the class action aspects of this ruling, predominantly black institutions with predominantly black student bodies will not be able to hire blacks in the foreseeable future. We take the emphatic position that this is an unjust order, making it an unjust ruling.
Among other objections to the court's ruling was that it went further than the situation justified.
We look at a broader picture. We're looking at the fact that the state have desegregated more than any other institution in the state of Alabama. So we have to look at the fact that we are talking about, and that court order deals with jobs. We're talking about black people would not have jobs. We're talking about Alabama State University would not have an opportunity to hire black students that might be finishing Alabama State University in 4 or 5 years from now when they get their master's. So that court ought to go further than those whites that allegedly is discriminated against.
One of the spokespersons said he agreed with discriminating against whites if it would mean maintaining black control over Alabama State University.
We cannot accuse Alabama State of discriminating if we put it in an equation with the rest of the universities and the rest of the society in which we live.
Does it still make it right to discriminate against these 5 people?
Yes. When we look at the total picture, it makes it right, because we have to recognize that in the times in which we live, what the facts of life are, and we have presented in our statement what the facts of life are.
Isn't this the same kind of situation that blacks found themselves in 15, 20 years ago, when people like yourself and Mrs. Carr marched, prayed, sang, and went to court to integrate predominantly white students?
Could I answer that?
No, it is not, Ms. Carr. I'll let you no, it is not. And the reason is because blacks have never been in decision-making positions.
It's not right. Discrimination is not right, period. But our concern is that the things and the pattern that we see coming in our community is that things are being perpetrated to destroy some of the things that we hold very dear in our community, and our institutions are one of them.
Today, leaders here continued to say the order is a dangerous threat to job security for all blacks in situations where they are in a majority. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.
Today's opinion by Montgomery Circuit Court Judge Perry Hooper means that State Treasurer Melba Till Allen will go on trial May 22nd instead of next Monday. At that time, the court will begin to hear testimony on 2 of the 5 indictments against her. The first charge that Mrs. Allen solicited or accepted the use of an airplane from financier Ed Gregory of Pensacola, Florida. Gregory had banking interests in the state at the time of the allegation. Another indictment charges Mrs. Allen of obtaining personal financial gain in exchange for depositing state funds in a bank at Geneva, Alabama. Judge Hooper has denied a motion by District Attorney Jimmy Evans to abandon the aircraft indictment altogether. Yesterday, Evans had requested a delay of next Monday's trial because he said a prosecution witness would not be able to appear because he was in the hospital and would undergo surgery. Hooper has denied a defense motion to dismiss all charges against Mrs. Allen. Her attorneys argued that a portion of the ethics law under which Mrs. Allen was charged was unconstitutional. Mrs. Allen also faces trial on indictments that she used the influence of her office to obtain credit or loans from the banks where state funds are deposited. Another charges the state treasurer with failing to complete her 1976 financial disclosure statement with the State Ethics Commission. Other trial dates for the state treasurer are set for June the 8th and June the 19th. From Montgomery Circuit Court, George Mitchell, WSFA TV News.
The first of the 187th Technical Reconnaissance Group's F-4 jets touched down shortly after noon today. The planes were returning to the area from Gulfport, Mississippi, where the unit had participated in a training exercise. The move is being made necessary by some renovation work at the Guard's present location at Danley Field.
At present time, they're building a connecting taxiway right in front of our ramp, within the next week or two, they should be strengthening each end of the runway, the first 1,000 feet. This will entail an overlay with asphalt up to 12 inches, and it would just preclude us takeoff and landing for the F4 over at Danley during that period.
Colonel Turnipseed said he hopes to be back at Danley Field by September or October at the latest. And he added the relocation should in no way affect the unit's current 24-hour ready status. This is Dave Rickey, WSFA TV News, Maxwell Air Force Base.
Some say this man has dominated his sport more than any athlete has dominated any sport. And that could be why he's still called the King after more than 30 years of fast-pitch softball. His real name is Eddie Feiner. He has pitched more than 8,000 games during his career. His team, the King and his court, has lost less than 5% of those games during that time, and Feiner says they wouldn't have lost that many if they didn't clown around. You see, the one-loss record is not the only thing that separates the King and his court from other softball teams. Feiner uses only 4 players, himself on the mound, a shortstop, a first baseman, and a catcher.
Oh, it's after World War II. We were playing regular 9-man ball, and a team we had beaten with 9 men made some remark, and I told him that we could beat him with my catcher and I, but he'd walk us both. And he said, well, you bring 4 guys. He's the one that made up his mind that we needed a man at bat with the bases loaded. And the rest of it is just sort of history.
Did you ever think it would end up like this?
Well, it seems to be that we have become an antique show. People are coming out to admire us like they admire Duesenberg, you know. I have people come up to me now and say, you know, my son's 10 years old, he's never seen fast pitch until tonight. So the game has sort of died. It's gone to slow pitch. And because of that, we're experiencing, well, you see the crowd, and it's getting bigger and better, so what are you going to do?
What Feiner has done is baffle opponents for more than 3 decades. His fastball has been timed at 105 miles per hour, faster than the fastball of Major League Baseball's Nolan Ryan. But Feiner has more than speed. He says he uses about 30 different pitches and several different deliveries. Feiner has been known to pitch on his knees, from second base, and even blindfolded. So even though he's lost a little speed over the years, Feiner still believes he's the best.
Well, I'm a little better than I used to be as far as the pitching is concerned, because I know so much more about pitching. Anyone that can think he's as fast as he was when he was young is just fooling himself. The 5% I've lost, the people wouldn't know the difference, because you can't tell a 100-mile-an-hour ball from a 92-mile-an-hour ball anyhow. They judge it by how it pops in the glove. And sometimes a nice, well-thrown 86-mile-an-hour ball pops, and people, ooh, boy, you really threw it hard. And you throw one in there as hard as you can, and it hits the webbing, and no sound. They don't even know you threw it fast.
I'm sure you'll have a lot of great stories from over the years. What's the most unusual experience you've ever had in softball?
Well, I guess, actually, I can't think of anything except the World Championships. We played world champion teams with 4 guys and won. We played last year against the second team in the world, St. John's, Newfoundland. We beat them 6-1. That's exciting. Anytime you play overseas where you're, I played a lot of places last year that never heard of Bing Crosby or Bob Hope. We're in outlaying places where they're drilling for oil or something, and people, if they think that all softball players in the world pitch like I do, they think we got a wild game.
It is a wild game when the King and his court take the field, but part of their game is often overlooked. They're hitting. Because as good as Feiner is on the mound, they still must score to win. That's seldom a problem, though, since the King and his court aren't too bad at the plate either. Al Jackson has been with Feiner for most of the 33 seasons of the King and his court. Jackson once had a string of 421 consecutive at-bats without a strikeout, a phenomenal record for fast-pitch softball. Jackson held the team's home run record for a single season with 94 until Eddie Feiner Jr. broke that record with 95 last season. Feiner Jr. is the shortstop and chief clown on the team, and he somehow manages to go to law school in the few months the team has off. John Bateman is the catcher. Bateman played Major League Baseball for several seasons, most with the Houston Colts and the Astros. All can hit, and hit well. Still, the arm of Eddie Feiner Sr. is the heart of the King and his court, Fainer has pitched nearly 800 no-hitters and 200 perfect games during his career, and he has struck out almost 100,000 batters. But Fainer is now in his mid-50s, and even if he is better now than he ever was, it can't last forever. Well, just how long can Eddie Fainer keep going?
I have no idea. That's all up to God. I don't have any idea when this thing will end. As far as I'm concerned, it's sort of like a show, and I guess as long as I don't get hurt, it should go as long as I could, like a choreographer dance.
Still fun for you then?
Oh, I love it. How are you going to not have fun playing in front of people like this?
So it's more than a game with Eddie Fainer. It's his life, and he takes it seriously. But his main objective is to show people a good time, and he succeeded in that for more than 30 years.
I think this is a good ball game. I hope you enjoy it. This is the inning I'll be pitching to at least the first 2 or 3 batters blindfolded. I'll be blindfolded. Now the blindfold is not a trick. I'm actually pitching from memory. About the same way as the umpire is calling it. But you'll notice that Al Jackson will now be playing first base. Stands to my right, catches the ball back from the catcher for me. Tells me whether the batter is right or left-handed and how tall he is, how close he's standing to the plate, and if he looks scared. Now he would feel the ball for me, but Spud doesn't protect me if it's hit right back through the box. He tells me exactly where it threw the last pitch, and about how far the umpire missed it.
This is Dan O'Brien reporting for Composite.
Saying Alabama State didn't want the responsibility for causing the nation's black schools to lose their identity, the trustee board asked the school's attorney to appeal Judge Johnson's order. The decision to appeal was made after much discussion about the cost of further litigation and what legal arguments does the university have in filing an appeal. On the matter of funds for the appeal, University President Dr. Levi Watkins said whatever the cost would be, it would have to be budgeted for next year. Watkins also told the trustees that officials from black schools from across the United States have been calling Montgomery to ask that the ruling be appealed. He added that several have offered any help, financial or otherwise, and they are prepared to enter the suit with ASU. One board member said it was an emotional issue with him, and he felt an appeal is necessary no matter what the cost turns out to be. It was decided that other black schools will be contacted and asked to enter the appeal procedure as friends of ASU and provide funds to pay legal expenses incurred by the appeal action. Watkins was fully supported by the board members today. They said that the school's president was not on trial and that the issue now is to get a ruling from a higher court on the Johnson order.
Jeff Davis scored 2 runs in the first inning on consecutive base hits by Scott Villar, Malcolm Simmons, and Steve Puckett, and that was all David Wyatt needed. Inslee scored 1 run in the second inning on 2 singles and a throwing error by Vols catcher Eddie Cox, but that was the only time Inslee got as many as 2 base runners in 1 inning. Wyatt allowed only 1 hit and a walk the rest of the game. He struck out 14 batters in the 7 innings, 3 in each the first, the fourth, and the 6th inning. After the second inning, no one for Inslee got past second base. Jeff Davis, though, had an insurance run in the 6th inning. Scott Villar led off with a single and later scored on a single by Eddie Cox. Wyatt picked up his 9th victory of the season without a loss. Inslee's ace, Jeff Pope, took his first loss after 5 straight victories. The Vols' next playoff game is this Tuesday at Patterson Field against Hueytown. Dan O'Brien, TV 12 Sports.
The week-long school held at the Department of Public Safety's Criminal Justice Training Center focused on the problems of international and intercoastal drug smuggling. More than 100 students from Alabama and 9 southern coastal states came to the facility here at Craig Field in Selma to learn from top experts how to deal with the problems of drug traffic. State, county, and federal law enforcement officers dealt with subjects such as aircraft tracking, vessel identification, and the legal aspects surrounding drug smuggling and control. Among the instructors who came from a dozen states were William B. Gardner of Alabama's Marine Patrol and Sergeant Walter Burke of the Los Angeles Police Department.
Well, our situation in Los Angeles is this, that we are a feeder city, and appears to be for one of the larger feeder cities of drugs for the rest of the United States. It's predominantly heroin and cocaine. Lots of marijuana and amphetamines, of course, and the PCP is the latest rage, but heroin is, I'd have to say, is our biggest product.
When you say heroin, are we talking about 10 pounds a month, or 1 pound a month, or 200 pounds a year? What kinds of weights?
Into this particular area are you discussing? I have no idea at this moment. We've been, best we can tell is pounds and pounds and pounds of heroin. That's one of the reasons I'm here, to establish contacts into the South to see what we can do to alleviate some of the problems that you're having and some of the problems we're having, of course, to work to mutual benefits.
You think maybe your contacts that you've made here may help you find persons who may be trying to smuggle it from your area to Alabama and maybe make a connection from here to the West Coast?
I have no doubt of that. That's the relationships, of course, we've established here, and the business-type relationships should be certainly beneficial. We'll soon see.
There is an act in Congress at the present time. We hope, if it's passed, that will give us some assistance in this area so that we can get some equipment, some rather sophisticated equipment that we need for search and rescue and smuggling operation, and assisting other agencies in the surveillance and also the apprehension of some of these people that are involved. And we hope, as we said in New Orleans, hopefully we can put 2 boats on routine patrol in the Gulf and in the Mobile Bay area that will be used primarily for this purpose, search and rescue. We'll have them on routine patrol, and I think that's one of the best deterrents that we can have right now, is having boats on patrol and assisting in hijacking to help prevent that sort of thing that we've talked so much about in the last year or two.
Right now, does the Alabama Marine Patrol have adequate manpower and boats to patrol the coastline to guard against smuggling of drugs and hijacking of boats?
No, we don't, Norman. We have about 5 people down there. That's 5 boats, but they're small boats, and primarily operating inland or inland from the Gulf, we'll put it that way. And we do not have adequate coverage, and we're hoping that we can get some assistance in rectifying that, but that's to be seen.
Colonel M.L. Hillier, director of Alabama's Department of Public Safety, said he feels the school was of great value to agencies concerned with combating illegal drug traffic. George Mitchell, WSFA TV News.
Reed said his views do not reflect the opinions of any organization, office, or position that he holds, but as a supporter of Alabama State University, he said he did not believe that ASU has a pattern and practice of discrimination against whites as a class.
Specifically, I'm hard-pressed to see where whites have been discriminated against as a class. I also take strong exceptions to the court's conclusions regarding Dr. Levi Watkins' personnel act, particularly the language used in describing him as an administrative tyrant and some other harsh terms. This language is inconsistent with the long tradition of decorum that the court has demonstrated over the years regarding lawyers, plaintiffs, and defendants.
Reed added that the unrelenting attack that the media made on Alabama State helped create the climate in which such language was used in this case.
No school in the history of this state has undergone the attacks from the press that ASU has had. Besides the press, there's been a group called a coalition. This group, in my opinion, is a fraud, it's a fake, and it's a front. It represents no blacks significantly, and I think it's motivated by political reasons. I've seen some evidence in the press this recently. I do not see this decision as a death nail in the coffin for ASU. However, if this decision is upheld, it will open up new legal fronts for all schools, blacks and white alike.
He went on to praise the ASU Board of Trustees for their decision to appeal the ruling, saying if this court decision is to have true meaning, it must affect all institutions. This is Janet May, WSFA TV News.
This was Bray's statement last Friday.
We cannot accuse Alabama State of discriminating if we put it in an equation with the rest of the universities and the rest of the society in which we live.
Does that still make it right to discriminate against these 5 people?
Yes. When we look at the total picture, it makes it right. Because we have to recognize that in the times in which we live, what the facts of life are. And we have presented in our statement what the facts of life are.
Today, he retracted it, saying it was an emotional time for him.
Most of us at some time in our lives will put our foot in our mouths. And I take this opportunity today to retract that statement made by me on Friday during the interrogation. I would like to state here and now that the statement by me that it is right to discriminate against whites was not my true feelings. I do not endorse or condone discrimination against any persons. I have worked too long and too hard against this evil. This arrow by me was of the head and certainly not of the heart. It was made at a time of high emotional strain, born of years of fear. However, I do feel that if it had been possible to air the entire news conference, the statement certainly would not have had the same impact on people. If apology to those who were offended by this intemperate statement by me is in order, I hereby apologize and retract it.
Mr. Bray, you said you made the statement during an interrogation. Wasn't it a news conference call by your group?
Yes, it was.
Okay, why would you say it was an interrogation?
Well, maybe I'm using the term loosely, but when newsmen are springing questions at you, that is the word that I know to use from my vocabulary.
The Alabama State case is being watched by legal scholars across the United States as an important test of reverse discrimination rulings. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.